playing the waiting game. But
Yeah.
anyways, what's up, everybody? Freakenstein here with Deceptive Kitty, and we're talking about Transformers Christmas ideas. So let's talk about first when we were kids and we just got into Transformers and Christmas was around the corner. What is your first memory of opening up your first actual Transformer for Christmas, if
Mm,
you have one?
that's a good question. That's a good question. I remember fondly opening 1989 some Christmas gifts. One particular was a Transformers belt buckle. It was just a simple thing. It was a little piece of plastic, the Autobot logo, and that was so awesome to get. It was a piece of clothing paraphernalia that was an Autobot logo, and that was just so cool. I thought that was so cool. The belt was a throwaway elastic band type of thing, but the buckle itself had like some chrome on the lines and red background. So cool. I also got the Power Master Optimus Prime that year as well. So yeah, major
Okay,
Christmas, unforgettable.
yeah. Okay, so for me, it was like this. I opened up my gift thinking because it's box shaped. It's a transformer for sure.
Mm.
It was Transformers, but it wasn't a toy. It was bed sheets.
Cool.
And like I'm at almost the end of all the gifts that I've already opened, right? Because I was saving the bigger one for last. And I like at that point in time, you didn't really have in your mind as a kid the scale of what the boxes really are and whatnot, right? So I get to one of the last littler boxes and I open it up, and it's what's called should I always bombshell the Insecticon.
Yeah.
Like yes, I at least got one. I at least got one, and yeah, so I was pretty excited about that. Now, mind you, poor bombshell never got played with because I didn't have the other ones yet, right? So
I
he
see.
just yeah.
He was
So
only in a few episodes by that point too.
yeah,
There wasn't
yeah.
they didn't feature the Insecticons in enough episodes. Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, I didn't get Transformers for the first Christmas of Transformers being released as well, right? So it was
Mhm.
the following Christmas after that or so, right? That's just
Yeah.
how it went.
Me
Um,
too. I was born in 85, so I completely missed the first year of release.
yeah.
And, I was a little bit too young, 85, 86 even. So I really only started getting toys. Well, the first Transformer toy I got was actually Sinner Twin, part of the Abominus
Oh,
Combiner
yeah,
figure.
yeah,
And and then when I was really getting into it was the Pretender era. And Power Master Optimus Prime was the major one that really kickstarted my collecting of the toys. Like I was always into the cartoon, but I wasn't really old enough to get the toys.
yeah.
And then yeah, so then I got like some awesome Power Masters. Like my parents made up for it with like the Mega Power Master. Uh, uh, there's a a motorcycle with a sidecar that was such an awesome uh, Ultra Pretender. I forget his name. And then Bumblebee, Grimlock. I had a whole bunch of those pretenders. And then the Action Masters. When I was a kid, I thought those were awesome. Like my friends were getting GI Joes, and they're saying like, "This is cool." I'm like, "Okay, now finally I got Transformers that can kind of compete in that same toy realm." I
Yeah.
thought Action Masters were cool back in the day.
Now, see, for me, as soon as the cartoon pretty much stopped airing on there, like I didn't get into what they had in store that was in the comic books and stuff like that. I just kept if I seen something G1, I would buy it, right? Like it didn't matter what was on the shelf. I was seeing the stuff on the shelves and I was like, no, I don't want that. No, I
Mm,
don't want that. I don't even know who that is. Why would I want that? You know what I mean? And like
mm,
my brother told me, like, yo, there's Transformer comics, but at that time in my life, it was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to. I don't want to, that
mm.
kind of stuff. But, now that I'm older and a lot older, we're 40 years into Transformers now. So,
Yeah.
I'm having to learn all these new characters that I missed in the past. And, you know, I'm not ever going to learn everything, that's for sure. To be honest, like I'll review the toys and all that kind of stuff like that, but I will not, dive deep into the history of all kinds of stuff like that and where it comes from and why. Because like even like Chrome Dome, right?
Hmm.
Chrome Dome, right? Like I know I got the Joker one here, but
Hmm.
where's he from?
I don't know myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't know everything about Transformers. You can just
Ho-
share what you do.
However, yeah, that's true. That's true. Like it's impossible to know everything. I can add a little piece of insight because Aaron Archer is a big fan of Batman.
Yeah.
And when he did the Megatron for, I believe it was Transformers Armada, the alt mode was the Batmobile. So it was like basically he made that universe crossover with Megatron turning into the Batmobile. And I think the idea was that Joker was to be like, the counterpart to that
Yeah.
Batmobile
Well,
that Aaron Archer did. That's my understanding. Maybe there's another part of the Transformers lore that I'm not aware of, and I think that's cool. There's so many parts of Transformers lore. Some of it applies to some people, and some of it just doesn't appeal to everyone.
yeah. Speaking of Aaron Archer,
Hmm.
I set that up almost 2 months ago for Children of Primus, and like I just seen there's a thing today
Hmm.
posted about it, and it's really not even a topic, really, in my opinion. I don't
Oh,
know if you've
they
seen it.
no, I didn't see it. There's we got a scheduled time with Aaron Archer. That's cool.
No, no, we don't yet. And meanwhile,
Oh,
I
okay.
set that up three
Yeah,
months ago.
yeah.
And like I gave Spin all the information and everything, but I don't know what's going on with that. But like I've been waiting. I set up a few people and I've been waiting on them, right? Like we've got
Hmm.
a few, but like I want to get these people on. Like, I know you'd love to see Aaron Archer on, right? And
Yeah, for sure, for
shoot
sure, for
shoot
sure.
the shit. Like to me, you're the one that introduced me to Aaron Archer. Like
Hmm.
again, I'm stuck in G1. Everybody
Yeah,
else is everywhere else, but I'm at least willing to give it a shot to learn more, to find out more. Maybe like you're one of the people that inspired me to check out other stuff instead of being stubborn. So
hmm.
maybe Aaron Archer can introduce me to something. You know what I mean? Everybody adds a little piece to everything, so
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
really
Totally,
really like. So
totally,
like
totally. Very
I,
much.
I, I don't know. Maybe you can ask Spin about that.
Yeah.
And just say, yo, Aaron Archer said he would come on the show. Let's
Hmm.
get him on, right? Like,
Well, from what I know of Aaron, he's always a busy guy. He's always like really pushing the limits all the time. He's always exhausted. He'll spend the time to be on the show.
yeah,
But it's been a busy run lately, especially even with some of the conventions he's been going to. He's been doing quite a bit, which I'm
yeah,
very impressed with.
yeah.
Speaking of,
Well,
I did introduce you to Aaron Archer, and speaking of which, I have to mention that I recall when I was introduced to Aaron Archer, I was hanging out with my dear friend Bryce Rutledge, who unfortunately we lost our very good friend of the Transformers community. And yeah, so Bryce introduced me to Aaron Archer, and Aaron is a really great guy. Yeah, he would be a great guest on the show. Uh,
yeah. Well,
one of these days, probably after Christmas, by the way things are going, we'll be
yeah.
able to get him on there and find a good time.
So, how jealous are you that you're not going to this con with all the voice actors? Because, like, for me,
Mm.
that'd be your ultimate gift. Hey, millionaires out there, send me and Deceptor Kitty to
Yeah,
this con.
you know
Like,
what? I think it's really important that I'm going to be there. I really want to go. I'm going to try my best. Right, the way it looks, I don't think I'll be able to make it, but above anything else, I'm just going to really give it a good shot. Even if I don't have money to spend on exclusives, as long as I could just be there, I might just get out and do it this year. LA
well,
in March, I believe.
yeah, and like
Mm,
Jesus, and all them voice actors in one place at one time.
yeah,
This is going to be some crazy, crazy stuff, right? Like,
yeah. It's going to
how
be a
many
great year.
autographs I would want? Like, honestly,
Here's the thing, though. In my experience, when there's a large number of guests,
there's no
there's
autographs.
there's a lot of autographs, but the organizing the autographs and organizing the time slots for everything becomes really difficult. So there's becomes an administration hurdle that they have to have someone there with the guest. They got to get the
Yeah.
guests a good time. Also, one year we did the signing in the basement of a TFCon, and that turned out to be a little bit difficult because it was like a new room. People didn't know where to go, and people kind of missed out getting autographs. So yeah, the organizers and the staff are going to have a difficult time organizing all of these guests, getting everyone autographs. So that's what's going to be the problem. I think everyone's going to have a good time. It's just staff is going to be stressed to the max.
You know how I do it? I do it like this. And I know
Mm,
people will say, no, you don't do it like that. Okay, so you form one line and you have the artist alley going, right? You let the first person go to the first desk. If they don't want an autograph, they move to the next and to the next. And then you just have the spots filled until the next spot is open. You know what I mean? One line for them all. Because, when you go to these cons and all these people are in line for different artists all over the place,
mm,
it it becomes very distracting and very full very quickly, and they're in the way of other people trying to
mm,
get by or do things. Like, I hate to even bring this up, but even at the last con there was a lineup for somebody, and they
mm,
had their kid in line, just holding the kid's hand, and the kid was sticking out, and this guy walked by in costume, and he obviously did not see this kid, but he
mm,
bumped the kid with his thigh, and the kid like did one of these into the dad's leg and went to his knee, and like that's nothing really serious or anything, but like if you had it more organized, it would be a lot better than this groups and groups and groups of people just trying to get their autograph before time is up, right?
mm.
You know what I mean? Like before their person they want the autograph to,
It
this
leaves.
way,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
my point
But
of contention. Is that like there comes a point where when people want to line up and get autographs still, the staff has to come in and says, no, no more people can line up because he's got to go soon. I think that it's understandable. The guests have to go. Like they get tired of talking. And obviously, it's exhausting for them. They're basically on the entire time. Like they're in characters. So I know it's tough for them.
and not
But
only that, but no one is in control at all of the time that one person spends with the artist, right? So I actually watched someone talking to someone while people were in line for about
mm,
25 minutes because of where I was at the con.
mhm,
They literally were talking to that person for 25 minutes. And because that person took up so much time,
mm,
at least 5 to 10 people didn't get their autographs, right?
mhm, mhm,
So, like, if they're going to do guests, I think they should do it in two segments, right? Okay, 2 hours on signing, half an hour break, then a half an hour of Q&A from the group, and then go back to signing for 2 hours.
mhm,
Same routine over and over and over again. That way, you know, there's plenty of opportunities for Q&A that you can waste the artist's time, but then
mhm.
he's actually there to sign and get through the people that want it, because
Yeah.
like you got to think too also this, that artist is not only signing and meeting you as a fan, but he's also doing it because he's collecting income from that, and that helps
Mhm,
him come to more cons and more
mhm.
cons. So the more people that can donate their money for the autograph or whatever. That's what I like to call it, a donation for the autograph. I don't like to say that they're doing it to get paid, because that's really a thing that was started a long time ago that should have never happened.
It didn't start
Like,
to, actually, that's kind of a relatively new thing. My
yeah,
experience, I've been to more Transformers conventions, TF cons, and bot cons where I've never paid for autographs. In fact, let me tell you, I was the guy in line who had his Transformers suitcase, and I opened it with 100 comics, and I'd be handing one after one to Bob Budiansky. Hey, sign this one and sign this one. He did 55 issues, right? I had to get
yeah,
him to sign it all. So in part, it's I am to blame for at this. I think it was BotCon 2010. Uh, I am partly to blame for being the guy who just takes up 20 minutes of the guest's time, and they have to say, look, you just have to move on. This is back when it was free, and this was in 2010. And
So
there came
I'm
a
still
point,
here.
even at this convention, they had to come to a point where they said no more guests, and you're limited to 5 things being signed. My fault. Sorry.
You knew someone was to blame. So
Yeah, take advantage. That's what I had to do.
let's get back to the topic because we talked about this a little bit, and
Bob is great, by the way.
yeah. But now, as an adult now, if a significant partner, a friend, or whatever could get you a hidden gem that you've always wanted, could never find, never get, what would
Yeah.
that be?
Mm, mm, mm. Boy, oh boy. I've probably put a lot of thought into this, and my holy grails might change over time, but relatively, like the criteria stays the same. Japanese exclusive, unavailable in North America, and availability like rare to none. Hmm. There was one. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me.
All right, well, I'll get to mine then since you're thinking about it, but maybe we'll get to that later. But mine has always been the actual tape deck of Soundwave, the actual working tape deck of Soundwave.
There you
Now,
go. Yep.
I've seen one behind glass,
Hmm.
but I've never seen one, touched one, used it, anything. But that's what I'd really like. I'll pull out some old tapes and play them. I don't care. That would be the coolest thing ever, in my opinion, because I
I,
love
I
Soundwave.
I remember seeing the first time I've seen it and the last time I've seen it. I wasn't even really aware of its existence. It was at BotCon 2000. BotCon 2000. This was when BotCon was ran by H3. I think this convention was also in Indiana, Fort Wayne, and they had their collection on display. Between the three of them, I think they had every retail transformer. And there was the box wasn't mint, but it was in box and it was okay in the box. And it was the actual recording, like the headphones and everything. And like,
Yep.
wow, it's like holy cow, it comes with headphones. Yeah.
Well, it was a real tape player.
That's why it perplexed me. I'm like,
I,
why would a toy come with headphones? And then I looked at it and like, no way. And I think I had asked someone and I'm like, is that? And he's like, yes, it is.
you know, like Hasbro, psst, Hasbro, make Nintendo toys for us.
You
you
know
know,
what? These days, let's say we threw in a little MP3 player and an audio plug in there. That's
yeah.
really not that difficult. Back in the day, putting mechanical play and the gear heads that have to work with the tape and then it has to turn the tape into cassette. That's a little bit more complicated. But these days, it's pretty cheap to do something like that.
I don't care how complicated it is. There's only one reason why I really want them to do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I got like 25 of these guys.
Mm,
I'm sorry, but to have actual salary where these guys could fit in would be heaven on earth. That would be my
yeah.
Christmas. I would
Yeah,
never want
totally.
Christmas ever again if I got that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but that's just it. Okay, so the reason why I was doing this show is because my awesome mom, she's been making some crazy stuff out of crochet, right?
Hmm.
With the Transformers and stuff. And I got the giveaway, for that coming up as soon as I get those 750 subscribers. And,
Hmm.
you
Almost there.
know, I told her, I said, why don't you just try making the heads? Don't focus so much on the bodies right now. Just make the heads because it is hard to crochet anything into a
Hmm.
square, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And she came up with a very ingenious idea to use sponges, which is awesome.
Oh,
That she don't have to spend a lot of money. She
yeah.
can cut up the sponge any size she wants to, and now you got your square shape, which the knitting will now wrap around. Even though
Brilliant.
all knitting is circular, this is going to be now square, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, so she did something, and like I, I I don't have a Christmas tree. I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I don't have a Christmas tree. I don't want a Christmas tree. I have one of these. Christmas trees and one of these do not mix. Look at this face. You know she's up to trouble. She's wearing a mask.
You
You
know she
know
wants that tree.
you know what she's going to do that tree. Like, look at her. She's
Yeah.
like, I'm guilty already. Already,
Yep.
she's guilty. So my mom did something crazy cool, and we're gonna start off with um, this one first.
You're cute. That's really cute. That's really
Christmas
cool.
tree ornament, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, isn't that just bad? Like, it's
That's
grandma's head. All
yeah.
right, we're gonna keep going. Let's see if you know who this one is,
Oh yeah, I see. Looks cool. Looks good.
right? She
Yeah.
kind of, you know what? This is what I just realized. RC, right? You know who she
Uh-huh.
is? She's freaking
Princess Leia.
Princess Leia.
Yeah.
She's freaking Princess Leia, bro.
That's
Okay?
right. Yep.
Or here we go. We got another one. Who's this one?
Ratchet. Real cool. Cool.
Right? Right? Then keep going. Everybody should know who this one is, even though it's not in the same era.
Cute Bumblebee. Yeah. Movie Bumblebee.
And then the last but not least.
Nice. Heavy pride. Cool face mask. How it comes over his mouth like that. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I told her, I said, you need to have that. I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
uh, when you just put the line across, it doesn't show that it's really, Optimus
Yeah.
Prime, but here he is, right?
Yeah.
Like
That's
how,
so
like
awesome. So
my
awesome.
mom is so smart. So like she went even a step further, and this is not Transformer related, but we're gonna go there anyways. But I know you know what this is.
Is that a Curious George hat?
No, that's Luffy's hat from One Piece, the straw hat.
Ah, Luffy hat. Yes, yes, yes.
And this is one of the things she made. Now she gave this one to me because she made all the rest of them, but this one she kind of did a screw up on. Well, that's what she told me
Mm.
with the colors. But I don't care. It's still pretty cute.
Oh, that is cute. That is really cute.
Donatello,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. It's good.
Like,
Originally, they were black and white, so technically those colors are quite sound.
yeah, but he's supposed to be purple. She made the purple one, right?
Yeah,
So like, yeah, like she's just going off with all this stuff. She's made
yeah.
Harry Potter. She's made um, what else? One Piece. She's made
To
Dragon Ball
Marvel,
Z,
Batman.
Marvel, um, Star Wars. She's made a whole shitload of these things,
Hmm.
and she's really good for someone that has never followed any of these things whatsoever. She
That's
has
good.
never followed. She supports me. She doesn't support my Transformers. Supports my brother,
Hmm.
but she doesn't support Marvel. Like
Right, right, right.
she supports us. So
That's
like
cool.
she's been making all this crazy stuff. Like it's just unbelievable. Like honestly, I couldn't ask for a better mom because like she's not scared to try anything. Like she's never done none of these things ever. She's just like she asked me. She's like, "Oh, can you give me that transformer that you just put on the show? I'll try to make that one."
Mm,
It's like, no, mom. I'm
mm.
like, some of these transformers, no one out there is going to actually want them like that. Like, you got to think about this. The most rarest most rarest common transformer. Is someone going to want a plushie of that?
Mhm.
Mm, not really. But Optimus Prime, yes. Megatron, yes. Bumblebee, yes. Grimlock, yes. Starscream, even. Whatever. Right? That's something that you would get down on. But
Yeah,
like,
I know someone that makes Transformers plushies, and she sells out every year. She
yeah.
gets like you have to ask her in advance, but she sells every single character. Drift. I remember I almost had a chance to buy a Drift, but the last one got sold just before I can get to it. So yeah,
Now,
definitely plushies, plushies. Any character do a plushie for Transformers.
you know what I thought would be cool is if she could do a combiner. But I don't
Hmm.
want to put my mom through all that.
Just
That's
let her figure out the mini bots first, and then move over to the combiners.
here, mom. Here's a picture of Superion. Can you make that?
Yeah, yeah,
What,
right.
what's on his arm? Another plane. What's on his leg? Another plane.
Yeah, right.
So, so it's a whole bunch of planes together? No. You're asking for too much now. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I just thought, I'd shared this little Christmas idea, and like I was just thinking this too. If you don't have an awesome mom like me, and you want to make something like this, here's what you do: you go to the dollar store, you buy yourself one of them foam balls, just like this, and you buy yourself some felt. You glue the felt on, you cut out the pieces, and you'll have something just like this, just made out of felt. You just got to build it up in layers, and that's pretty much it. And you can have one of these hanging on your tree as well.
Arts and crafts.
Yep. Eight Transformers great. They spill into everything. I just wish they didn't spill into My Little Pony and GI Joe.
Well, that's funny because there was supposed to be a My Little Pony movie back in '86, and there seems like there should have been more connections with My Little Pony, but the universes between Transformers and My Little Pony are completely disconnected. If you compare to G.I. Joe and Transformers, which is to me that they didn't really officially cross over. They just kind of crossed over because Hasbro was kind of doing the same thing. But in that
Yeah.
respect, I felt like maybe this should have been more just Hasbro, My Little Pony crossovers. I'm sure there
Well,
was, but it just flew over my radar because I'm just not into My Little Pony.
so they could have done something a little bit outside the box, and I've seen cartoons nowadays. I feel bad for kids. I honestly do. I feel bad for kids. Okay. And people out there might say, "Oh, well, they got great cartoons," but to me, that's not a great cartoon. That's just my opinion. It doesn't matter. You guys think what you want, but here's the thing that I think Hasbro needs to do: come up with an absolutely brand new line of toys. We've been seeing the same toys reissued, remade, remastered, whatever you want to call it, but it's about time that billion-dollar company invests again in something. Go to China again and get the ideas for China or wherever, Japan, wherever, to get the ideas for another show. Okay, like
Mm,
look at how many shows out there have crossed over just from other countries. Okay, so you had Shameless UK, and then all of a sudden you got Shameless United States.
mm.
And I recommend you all watch Shameless UK if you like Shameless United States. Again, The Office in the UK was only 2 seasons, and what the United States it was 11 or something like that, or 8 or whatever. You know what I mean?
That's because of cultural differences with production. Shows
Yeah,
in
but
the
even
UK get
still,
2 to 3 seasons maximum, and they end it. And then in the US, you see shows that go on 6, 7, 8, 20 seasons because they milk the franchise.
but
Unfortunately, like there is no material. You can't keep writing for a show that long. It's just ends up being garbage, which is what happens with every show. Goes downhill by that point.
but
So
what
that's
I'm saying is this: they got shows out there that we won't see for another 5 years. Right now, right now, they got shows that we won't see for 5 years, at least
where
5.
in
Oh,
UK.
well, no, and like Japan and China and stuff like that. Like they got concepts and ideas that we've not seen. Like even Pokemon didn't come to us until like 3 years after it was already made,
I
right? Like,
suppose I suppose you could make that argument in the '90s when anime wasn't that front and
well, I know we
center in
got
pop
more
culture.
access. Yeah, we got more
Yeah,
access now. But what I'm
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
go
Things go
over
on
there.
Netflix.
Yeah, go over there and just wait for something new to come out, and if it's really good,
I'm gonna have
capitalize
to
on
I'm going to have to challenge you to do that because I went to Japan myself to do research into what's new and what's hot over there. And like I challenge you to do that. And to be honest, you're going to find it's the same shit that's been selling for on and on. I had a conversation with Spin once, and we were saying how toys for boys and girls, but we were talking about toys for boys, has never changed for hundreds of years. For hundreds of years, boys were playing with slingshots, play guns, toy
it. Yep,
soldiers, military
yep.
boys have been for hundreds of years. So if for hundreds of years boys have been playing with the same thing, there's not really going to be any advancements going in the future. Like there's not going to be any type of revolution. It is what it is. It's just going to be made simpler and more easy to manufacture in the next generation.
Well, all I know is this: the only thing I can think of that I would want to cross over with Transformers right now,
Hmm.
and I know you're gonna think it's silly, but the Invincible universe,
Hmm.
just for fun.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. It would have to be like one of those quirky storylines like Mars Attacks and Transformers crossover.
Yeah.
But I was listening to a podcast this morning. It was Sabina Hofstetter, theoretical physicist, and she was mentioning, or in this video, she brought up the idea that maybe science is coming to an end. And the argument was pretty sound in that, like, if you look at cartography, like surveying the globe, like, there's a finite amount of information there is to gain of charting the world's geography. And there's also, likewise, potentially a finite amount of information to know in science in itself. If there's a finite amount of information in science, there's a finite amount of toys that would really appeal to young boys.
Yeah.
And beyond that, you're appealing to a completely different market. And I don't think these markets, niche markets to appeal to adult collectors, will prevail quite as much as toys for boys, because boys will always exist, boys will always need toys. But adult collectors' tastes will often change, and often these tastes are based on their nostalgia. So yeah, more toy guns, and they're just going to be made cheaper as time goes on.
Now think about this: 30 years into the future, right now,
Hmm.
do you think there's still gonna be a TFCon?
Do you think they're still going to be TFCon? In 30 years, in 30 years, Transformers would be 70 years old.
Yep. But you got to
I,
remember, there's still all these cartoons that have come out throughout the times that other people have grown up watching, right? Like Beast Wars and then Armada and then Rescue Bots, all that kind of stuff like that is still there, right? So, do you think there'll be a TFCon still in 30 years?
you
Because
know
I
what?
really do.
It all comes down to Colin. If Colin decides, I don't want to do it anymore, that's pretty much the end of it. There is
Yeah.
basically one guy, like obviously there's a huge team behind him, but there is one guy who's calling this shot. And if he decides no more convention, really, that's going to be the end of it, unless somebody takes up the mantle. And that is a huge burden to take up. We're really dependent on the people within this community to keep it up, and we owe them all the support and gratitude that they deserve for doing that. Colin and his TFCon team,
That's
right?
it.
So
You know
we
what we
just
need to do?
if we don't support our community, we are not going to be seeing TFCon for another in the next decade for sure, for sure.
I got it. We're gonna do a GoFundMe for um, Transformers stock, a whole week of Transformers vendors and campers and all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
You know, that'd be cool. Have our own
Yeah.
Transformer stock.
It really all comes down to Transformers franchise like Hasbro and their whatever Paramount production, what they decide to do. Because let's say they, for some reason, let's just say Transformers movies is just not what they want to do anymore. They want to do, I don't know, My Little Pony movies or whatever they want to do. And they just want to turn away from boys' war Transformer movies. If they're not making Transformer movies, you could pretty much call it the end of Transformers. If there's no movies, there's no media. If there's no media, there's not going to be any toys. And that's essentially what these corporate decisions come down to. It's like, well, is there already exposure that we can capitalize on, and how little do we have to spend in order to make that advertising happen? Basically, the movies is the main advertising thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, if there comes a day, and I'm pretty sure that day is coming soon with this superhero fatigue. This superhero fatigue is kind of pushing the movie industry. I think it's going to start changing quite a bit. There's no interest in Transformers movies anymore, the toys, bye bye, all of it gone. It's all dependent on one company.
Well, look, we've seen something recently new called The Boys, right? Now
Hmm.
that took superhero in a whole new direction. Now we
Hmm.
have um, okay, there's uh, a superhuman universe, but here the normal average Joe is standing up for himself and kicking butt, right? Like that just showed us something totally new that we never really seen too much of. Now, like there is stuff that you can argue and say, oh well, the Punisher, blah blah blah, Batman, blah blah blah, but to me, Batman's not really fighting super villains like as where like you got in the Marvel universe, you got like Thanos. You know what I mean? Like characters like that. Uh,
Mm.
Batman's fighting genetic freaks. They're not like actually born that way. They were made that way. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm.
now,
No, there's some outer like, well, what is that guy? Oh, that Omega character there from that Justice League movie. Not the DC's answer to Thanos. Dark Side. That's he's like
yeah,
there. At some point, actually, Batman became a god in the DC comics. There is quite a bit of
yeah,
storyline.
because he's human. That's why. Because everybody's like rooting for him because he's just a mere human going after these guys. But like now, it went a step further with the boys. Here's an average Joe that works inside a computer repair shop, you know, and he just blew up one of the super heroes that's actually a villain, right? Like he just totally kicked his ass with his brain and not, you know, how to use superpowers or whatnot to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, The
I don't
Boys
know.
is an interesting show. I think it does come from somebody who really loves comic books and has really picked up on all the cliches that superheroes tend to do in these comic books and cartoons and things like that. And it's just he is he's bringing it to the forefront of all the silly things that happens and just saying like why hold on to some of these cliches. For example, superheroes being benevolent type of thing. You see all these superheroes that are really don't quite care for the public. It's just their image that they're concerned about. Especially, it's a satire on social media now. Like, what would a
Yeah.
superhero be like given the social media climate these days? So it's a very interesting
So
thing. Yeah.
so there's a part in the boys that cracked me up when I seen it. And, it's a disturbing scene where Homelander shoots his laser eyes at a terrorist, but it goes through the terrorist and hits an innocent victim, and the victim dies. And Homelander's like, oops, and takes off, right?
Hmm.
So, like, I just previously watched the DC movie with Superman, and he's shooting his eyes, and it's going through all these buildings and everything else like this. I'm like,
Hmm.
man, how come Superman never gets called out his shit? He just took out a whole city with his eyeballs, and there's collateral damage, but
That's
everybody's
true.
fine running in the streets, right? It's like, what the heck is going on?
That's
You know?
actually true, and I think that's part of the cliche that The Boys plays on. So in that, I think it was Superman Returns. Uh, Anyways, the Man of Steel movie by Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
Superman destroys the city, and there was no mention of it in the movie. But in the Batman v Superman movie, the intro of that movie was depicting all of the devastation with Bruce Wayne running around trying to you know, do what he
yeah.
can to save one little girl with this destruction going around. So it wasn't until the prequel to that movie did they actually recognize it. But given that it was a Superman movie, Superman always plays into these cliches, right? He can never do any wrong. He's Superman, right? So when he destroys a building, they're not going to acknowledge that within the Superman movie because it's just not that kind of movie, right? But in a
Yeah.
Batman v Superman movie, they brought it up because Batman needs some type of justification to fight Superman, and the boys just like that. That's what they're all about. The boys are just about satire and playing on these types of cliches.
So uh, we're gonna get back to the Christmas thing real quick here. Another Christmas question. So a lot of Transformers. We're talking about cartoon Transformers, animations, whatever, um, anything that's related to an actual series. If you could take one of the two or three or even four-part um, episodes in Transformers, whether it be again G1, uh, Beast Wars, Beast Machines, any of these things, if you could take any one of those and make it into um, a live action movie, which would it be?
If I could take anything and make a live action movie out of it, live action really, ah, because the live action movies are take away that disbelief, that suspension of belief there. I'm always very too critical when I see live action because I'm expecting certain physics. So when I'm seeing it in a cartoon, I'm my brain is allowing itself to be more detached from reality. I'm less critical and I'm open to new storylines. So to be honest, I would prefer it if things remain in a cartoon or even CGI. And I think Beast Wars did it the best, especially at the time in 1994, 1995. It was very graphically appealing, but at the same time, it wasn't real life. It was a virtual life. Transformers Prime is another great example. It's cartoony, but it's also very detailed and very well CGI. And I think the new Transformers One that's coming out is also going to be very detailed, but also very CGI. So I think there should be a definite in between, uh, and probably heavily leaning towards the CGI in order for me to really enjoy it. Because for me, my brain just gets too critical when it's live action.
See, for me, it would have to always go down to the first three episodes. And the reason why is this: there's hardly any human interaction whatsoever, which I love. Okay, you got pretty much Spike and what's his name? Damn it. What's his dad's
Sparkplug,
name? Sparkplug,
Sparkplug.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
You got them two being rescued at the oil station, stuff like that, and then
yeah,
all that
and,
stuff like that. But what I'd really like them to focus on for at least half the movie is them trying to escape Cybertron and all that kind of stuff like that. Like, give us a little bit more of a backstory of
mm,
what's going on before you leave, and then leave, and then have the volcano erupt, all that kind of stuff. Megatron come to life, them going to search out for power and the Autobots stopping them and making their first contact with the humans. And then you can end it there if you really wanted to. For me, that would be fine. Like they just fight and save the humans, and that's the story. You know,
mm, mm.
like, but like for me, I want them to go back because like the best part of live action movies I've ever seen was the first 5 minutes of Bumblebee, and I think
Yeah,
a lot of people agree with that. So bring us back to Cybertron and give us that story of why you had to leave,
I
why you
think.
were battling, why you were, you know, doing all this stuff to escape the planet in the first place instead of staying and fighting,
Mm,
like all that stuff, and then have that tragedy happen where you get stuck in time for forever because that's just how things go. You got knocked into stasis, all of you, because of the crash, and then go from there with the volcano, and then them saving um, Ratchet or not Ratchet, Sparkplug and Spike.
That's funny you mentioned that because right now with the I forget the name of the comic book publisher, but the new comic is actually going back to that storyline. Well, more so not why they left Cybertron, but the storyline starts here on Earth, them being revived here on Earth. So that is a new take based on that old storyline, which is very, very compelling. It's very interesting. However, there's already been that War for Cybertron video game series, and video games these days are really amazing in their ability to tell stories. And that was a great story. Even if you're not playing the game, just watching the cutscenes, that's an amazing story on how the Autobots left Cybertron and what was going on, like what was the status of the characters, Starscream and Trypticon and Megatron. It was very cool game. War for Cybertron games. Also, at the around the time of the release, was a novel called Transformers Exodus, and again, there was no humans involved. It was completely the storyline about what was going on Cybertron, mention of space bridges and ancient technology, and how it became that there was a struggle for power and trying to revitalize their planet. There has been already a lot of these retellings, and I think it's a real big endeavor to retell this story. Like it's already told really good. You know, it has to be outdone in order to be improved upon, I think. I talked to the developers of the War for Cybertron game, and for them, that was a really big undertaking. It was a real big risk, even to try and tell that story and try to make that appealing.
Yeah, but that's the thing about video games too, is that they can actually take that risk because you know what? Even if people don't watch the storyline, guess what? They're still playing the game. You know what I mean? Like, how many games have we played since we were children that we had no idea what the hell they were talking about or doing or anything, and we still played the game? Like,
Mm,
here's my prime example: Final Fantasy. As a child playing that game, I did not understand what the frick was going on in the storyline whatsoever because of just the cultural difference in communication and how they spoke to each other and stuff like that. It was like, huh? What?
mm,
Nope. All right, skip. Let's play. Skip. Let's play. You know what I mean? But then as an adult, I actually sat there and watched it all. And, it's like,
mhm.
okay, okay, like when you're a kid and like that's another bonus about games today is that they all speak and you can have the text at the bottom or take it off.
Yeah.
Most kids don't want to sit there and read some shit while they're watching pictures fly by. I
What?
mean, it's kind of hard to do both, especially when it's that animated, right? Like when there's
Mm,
so much action going on and you got dialogue and you're trying to read and watch at the same time. It's like, oh man, now I gotta do this all over again because I missed what he said because I was watching this, or oh, I missed what they did because I was reading this, right? So like
mm,
that's one great thing about today's games is like you can actually watch and hear like you are watching a movie and show. Back in the day, you had one character's head up, one character's head on the other side. Every time they talk, they go back and forth and jump off the page, and it's like, man, is it over yet?
mm.
I had to keep
Yeah,
pressing that X button.
there has definitely been a revolution in video games. When I was a kid, like the games were very simple. Super Mario is basically it. Like there wasn't any storyline. Like you pay through
No.
the levels, grass world, desert world, like ice world. There was no necessarily any storyline, and it seems like Super Mario was great, right? It didn't seem like it was necessary to have a good game. And then I played Metal Gear Solid in 1998, 1999, and that completely blew me away. And I'm pretty sure that was the game that blew the world away and really opened the doors to more storytelling and diversifying the experience of playing video games. I'm a real enthusiast of Hideo Kojima's, and yeah, it's just he's just shown the world on how we could um, have the viewer interact with the story like no other
Well,
medium.
and it's not even just video games that are doing that nowadays because there's a few movies on Netflix that you interact with. Like there's one called Dark Mirror or something like that. I believe that's what it's called. It was
Black
TV
Mirror,
show, or yeah, Black Mirror, and then they uh, made a movie.
Bandersnatch.
Yeah, they made a movie that you could interact with, and I was like,
Yeah.
man,
So
there's a million
Bandersnatch
possibilities. abilities.
Yeah, from what I remember, Bandersnatch was like a game or something from the early '80s. I'm not familiar with it completely. I actually didn't watch this episode, but I was told about it. And it's something, yeah, you can interact with in some type of puzzle game or choose. Oh, you know what it is? It's a choose your story type of thing. And I'm sure you remember this when you were a kid. We had those books. You could choose your adventure, right? You know, there's
Well, PC
if Bumblebee
games,
does this, what is that?
old PC games.
Uh, I guess so, but this is more playing like Bandersnatch. I think specifically was one of these choose your story novels. Transformers had some
Yeah,
choose your own story, right? I had a couple of these novels. And if you want Bumblebee to do this, you jump to page 12. If you want Bumblebee to do this, you jump to page 55, right?
yeah,
And I think that was the interaction. But more so, rather than it being like a revolution in how you interact with your thing, I think it was just a nostalgia gimmick. Like Bandersnatch was a particularly popular choose your adventure thing, I think. And I
yeah.
think that was just a gimmick type of thing. Yeah, it's really hard to make. TV in itself is hard to be interactive because we're just so used to passively absorbing it. There's never been any interaction to force someone to interact with TV. I think that's a difficult stretch. But video games, like the idea is that you're pushing the narrative forward by moving your character around.
And you know, like they're actually taking very, in my opinion, very lame video games and making them live action TV shows that are really cool, like Twisted Metal. I hated Twisted Metal. All my friends wanted to play Twisted Metal. And I'm like, man, this is so stupid. All I'm doing is driving around shooting you. All I'm doing is driving around shooting you. The whole game is driving around shooting you. There's no real story. There's no real interaction. It's just driving around shooting you. And I'm
Mm-hmm,
like, man, we're not even on a road. We're not even racing. We're not even doing anything. All we are doing is shooting each other. Like,
mm-hmm,
I would have loved the game better if we were on some highway racing, like actually racing to blow up each other to win. Like to me, that would have been a way better way of making this game. But just to be an arena blowing each other up and respawning, blowing each other up and respawning, and blowing each
mm-hmm.
other up and respawning. It was like the game had no real purpose except for to blow up another character. And how many times can you blow them up? And it was like, all right, I don't want to play this game no more. And then all of a sudden they came up with this damn TV show, and not once, not twice, but three times I watched it now. Like, if you could take a game like that and make an awesome show like that, there's a billion or more out there. Get on it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I have to point out, like from a kid who used to blow things up with firecrackers, I think that kind of tells you where the producers of Twisted Metal got the ideas of why it might be appealing for kids
Yeah,
to drive
yeah.
around blowing things up. I think it was directed for someone like you. Exactly. I used to play Twisted Metal. I wasn't particularly good at it, but that was when I was giving PlayStations a shot there. I very quickly found Metal Gear and dropped every other game and thought Metal Gear and that type of game was just the pinnacle of what games could be. But Twisted Metal at the time was a pretty advanced graphically game. Like it was really cool. You could move around in 3Ds. You're a car. You're blowing pieces off. At the time, it was really, really spectacular. But in retrospect, yes, very simple, very mindless type of thing. But at the time, it was very innovative.
Now, if there's any game that really deserves to have their own TV show and movie, I'm saying both. It's Bayonetta.
Bayonetta's cool. Yeah, Bayonetta's pretty cool. Yeah.
And it's not because of just that it's a really good game, but whoever made those monsters and all them like different boards, like levels or whatever, the monsters that were created for that,
Mm,
man, would I love to see that, even if it is CGI in 3D fighting somebody. Like,
mm-hmm.
man, like
Yeah,
you know what? I look at that game. I think of that the guy that did Pan's Labyrinth.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yes, I
Mm,
think of Guillermo because like he's got that vision of outside of what's normal when it comes to a monster. And these people that did this game had all of it, in my opinion.
Hmm.
The person that came up with these designs, I can't say it's just one person though. It's probably a whole team of people, but just these designs for these monsters were like amazing. Like,
So if you're into del Toro's design, there's one called Death Stranding, and Guillermo del Toro, he's actually his character is in the game. He didn't play as himself, but like his physical character is in the game. It's called Death Stranding, and it's also a Hideo Kojima film. Sorry, game after he left Konami. So yeah, the monsters are really cool in that. You should definitely check it out. Death Stranding. I should really recommend to you Hideo Kojima because if anything should be made into a live action TV show or movie, it would be something by Hideo Kojima. Whether it's Police Knots, Metal Gear, Snatcher, yeah, just amazing, groundbreaking stuff, earth shattering stuff.
well, I'm gonna have to check it out now, man.
Yes,
You
you
know what?
definitely need to. I only recommend good things. If there's anything I have to say, whatever I recommend, at least read the Cole's notes. At least look it up. If it appeals to you, definitely should pick it up. I only recommend good things.
Man, I used to love learning stuff, but now you guys are putting too much information in my brain.
That's what happens when you get exposed to a larger community.
Yeah, it does. But that's okay, because learning and growing is what life's all about, right? And,
Yeah.
you can't do anything with life if you stand still.
Hmm.
But it was great to have you on again and ask you some questions about this Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, you, you know, I'm just gonna spend some time with family for Christmas, and hopefully my pre-orders will come in soon. I actually asked Bot Verse Con if they want to do a video with me because we're both getting that Magic Squares Metroplex,
Hmm.
and
Sweet.
I was thinking we could do a video kind of like what we're doing right now, but we're both opening up the Metroplex at the same time, and we're both giving our opinions. What do you think
Right
about
on.
that idea?
Yeah, yeah, cool. That'd be cool. Yeah, 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 yeah. Double
Two,
unboxing.
yeah, double unboxing. Like I think that would be just a sick idea, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but I gotta wait for him to get back to me. I know mine's gonna be here within about, I'd say, anywhere from 10 to 12 days, but he might get his sooner. Um,
Sweet.
but maybe he'll wait and hold off, and we can do this because I think it'd be really sick. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Good idea.
All right, man. I will see you tomorrow
Right on. Yeah. Children of
live
Primus.
on Children of Primus. All you people out there, make sure you go check that out, and don't forget to subscribe to everybody that's on there. And yeah. So, any last words?
That's it. Happy Christmas shopping.
Yeah. All right, everybody. This is Freakenstein saying, keep playing. Freakenstein out.
Bye.